Welcome to Talk Tennis. Olivier is joining me all the way from Babolat Headquarters. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for the invitation and the opportunity. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, this is actually kind of a little behind the scenes, one of the fun parts of probably both of our jobs, but we are recording this episode far in advance.
Yes.
Because we can't show what we're talking about today, but we are so excited. We actually got to hit these rackets yesterday. Oh, I have goosebumps. So it's very exciting. So you can tell us what we're talking about today.
Yes, we're going to talk about the new Pure Aero. That we are going to launch in 26. So we are quite advanced in the process, and so we tested yesterday with you the final version of the racket.
Yes.
So it was super cool. So we were very happy about the feedback. So we put a lot of efforts on this racket. So great feedback from you guys. Great play test. And so very happy and very excited to talk about it now.
Yes, definitely. And before we get too far into it, please remind our guests, please remind you're our guest. Please remind our audience what your role is at Babolat.
My role is a group marketing manager. I am in charge of all the product dedicated to committed intensive players, being on tour and playing on clubs too. But we say pure racket at Babolat, Pure Aero, Pure Drive, Pure Strike, etc. String, grip, accessories, balls, and environment around the stringing machines too. So I have a team of product managers working on our racket, strings, and so other categories. And so we only propose products dedicated to, we say expert players, intensive players, yeah.
Definitely. And can you walk us through what a racket's life looks like from very beginning to launch?
Yes. It's a quite long process that we have internally. So we start first from inspiration. So we take the feedback from players at different levels, clubs, on the tour. They are very sensitive, so they provide some very good feedback on the current products, and so then we check some reviews. We check what you do, guys. It's for us it's important. We check some forums, some chats with different retailers as well to get the perception of the racket by the players, which is very important for us. And then we define a brief. With R&D guys, so we define a very clear brief on the future evolution and the playability of the racket, and then we start the development. So we have different runs to propose prototypes, 2, 3, sometimes 4. And then when the product is ready, I would say, to play after 1 or 2 runs, we have laboratory tests and expert panel that give the feeling about, we make sure that what we have in the laboratory, it's translated on the court. So we start with expert panel. We are really skilled to express their feeling about different criteria. Then we start some other tests with players from in different countries. And then, yes, sometimes we involve people like you. So you are part of the process too on this new racket. So you provided guys a feedback a few months ago. So we slightly adjusted the racket, and then when the racket is then ready, of course we have what we say the keeping sample. So it's a stamp on the product. In parallel, we defined the cosmetic, and we make sure that then we provide the right information at the right time to the other categories. As we propose on the market a pack with different products. It's not only a racket; it could be strings, could be shoes, could be bags, and so they have other timing for the development. But everything starts with the racket. So we have a very precise timing. And then now we are entering the period that we start presenting.
This is the fun part.
The racket to you, and then internal sales force, and then we're gonna have a convention, and then
it's all happening.
Salespeople will present the rackets to retailers, and then we're gonna start the production and then transportation, etc., to make sure that next year we'll have in every single, I would say, retailers in the world. We have that racket launched the same day. So everywhere.
It's quite the process. And we've been lucky to have been looped in through some of the play testing. And I know sometimes it can be tough because the way we get to play test in person with you is so much easier than when we get sent rackets and like they're always blacked out and there's sometimes numbers and colors and sometimes it's a little confusing and we don't know what we're supposed to feel. But yesterday was such a great experience because we had the opportunity to play test the previous version right next to the new version.
Exactly.
And I mean, we can talk about this as we go, but it sounds like our feedback was literally exactly what you guys were aiming for. So we were dialed in.
Perfect, yeah. Yes.
That's a good thing. And I will mention that previous rackets that we tried, we weren't as in line as on our opinion and your what you guys were shooting for. So it's cool to see the edits that happen through the process.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And yes, we made it, I would say, properly. We checked all the different rackets and we compared the current version to the new one. This is what we do as well with other players, and just make sure that we have just the parameter of the frame that change. We strung the racket freshly yesterday.
Yes,
same
all strung
string,
together.
same tension.
Yep.
So both rackets were close in terms of the same in terms of specifications, weight balance, wing weight, etc. So we only compared the frame and the evolution of the frame, which was perfect.
Yeah.
And you started as a blind test and with just black Cosmetic, and then I didn't tell you anything.
No.
And then I just heard your feedback and say when you started talking about the racket and your first feeling, it's yes.
Okay, well let's talk about it then. So let's hear what is new about the Pure Aero 2026. Why are you making these changes? What has changed? What's the new technology? Start from the beginning.
Yes, so the main changes and the main concepts for these new rackets is a concept for spin and another concept for feel, an evolution of the feel. For the spin concept, we started from the game. We started from the players, and we analyzed the evolution of the game. We talked a little bit yesterday as well, but yes, players are bigger. They play earlier. They hit, I would say, faster, and so we can really perceive that trend. And so we worked on a new frame, on a new shape, to make the swing faster. So we really worked on the aerodynamism on the racket, and we focused on the throat to increase the aerodynamism, because we noticed that there is a direct link with the vertical velocity of the racket and the RPM rotation you can generate. So we focused on the throat of the racket because it's a preponderant part to when we analyzed the drag of the racket in the wind tunnel test. And so we made sure that we managed to increase that racket, the aerodynamism of that racket by 6%, and in the end generate 3% more RPM, which is for players on the tour that play in a range about 3,000 RPM. It's something that is significant. It's 100 RPM more. And they really could feel this extra margin of safety they could get in the ball. And so they could hit even harder in the ball, which is something interesting. And it was very interesting too. They felt, and you guys felt as well, that racket was perceived as more maneuverable, easy to swing and faster to swing. And the specs between, I would say, the current version and the new one are the same. It's the same weight, it's the same balance. So there is that swing that is now faster, that meets, I would say, the evolution of the game. And it helps to generate in the end more RPM and get the extra margin of safety that a category of players could expect, playing at different, I would say, location in the court, but even when you keep the baseline and you play early, this is something that is important. So the first concept is really that racket was really crafted by science. We had many campaigns on the racket. It's more than 40. If we gather, I would say, if we take into account the laboratory test, the play test, the wind tunnel test, the biomechanical test, I would say we said sensorial test with players, and then play test with some players, different locations, different countries. And then finally, we had some focus group as well to talk about the products, how it's perceived, check the cosmetic, etc., just to make sure that racket meets perfectly, I would say, players' expectations. So we are really happy of the result. Very happy that the test yesterday went well, and very excited to propose this racket in the market.
Yeah, and it's noticeable the change in geometry right away compared to the previous one. So it's kind of cool to know, like, you're seeing the technology and then you're feeling the technology in hand. And this franchise is so dependent on spin. And as you mentioned, I think it's important. We sometimes hear numbers in the industry and people just, 6%, and you're like, 6%, what's that? But when you mentioned how that's like 100 RPMs for a pro player, that's a lot.
It's a lot, yes.
And like, even if you don't play with tons of spin, like, you're getting more naturally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get more, ball rotations. So it's main concept is that about the spin, and you can see the difference in the racket throat.
For sure.
About the geometry. So we maintain the same power control ratio. We maintain the same, I would say, concept about what we call the SFI. It's string frame interaction. So FSI spin with integrated the plastic part into the frame to reduce the drag as well. So it's that racket is dedicated to players that expect a faster vertical swing and generate ball rotation. So it's for the first concept, we achieved a quite good result on this part.
That's awesome. And just personally, since I don't swing with a ton of upward motion, what I noticed and I loved the most, especially with the 98, was in hand, it felt fast. And we kind of talk about, like, as aging athletes, sometimes our hands move slower. And like, this allowed me to like hold the ball and then manipulate extra spin. The angles were crazy. The slice was insane. I said that yesterday. I cannot stop talking. Anytime I came forward, even my bad volleys felt really nice. But it's like, it's such a nice racket to like, I don't have the most touch, but I felt like I could make any volley I was trying to hit. Slice, you can just knife it. And it's just like, bing, just like below the net, over the net, in the court, staying low. So that was really impressive as well.
Yes,
Tell me why. What's in there?
Yes.
Why? That was one of my big questions. So actually, is the Pure Aero 98 is so beloved. Everyone is using it. We have played Chris, Jason, they both love this racket, cannot put it down. But then we've heard that so many college players are identifying really well with this racket and using it. And then we see on the pro tour, a lot of pros are endorsing it. So I was gonna say, how do you make a good racket even better?
Yes, it's a good question, and for sure, it's sometimes we have to make choices, and so we cannot keep a racket, say, for the same racket for 10 years. So we try to, as I said earlier, to identify the evolution of the game and propose the right answer to that. So we know that it's important to find some solutions and on the frame to swing faster and help people that expect spin to generate a bit more. So that's why we brought that concept on the Pure Aero 98 too. And so we adapted the shape, the beam of the racket, especially on the throat for that. And then we maintained the power control ratio. We maintained as well the feel. We had just a slight update on the patches, on the flag fibers. We integrated into the frame. So it's an update, and we've kept, I would say, the best ingredients, the good ingredients, and adjusted with the right amount of, I would say, of modifications. I would say we adjusted the recipe to make the racket, I would say, meeting some new requirements, new trends. We know that the racket is really well perceived today. It's a strong racket, but strong endorsement too. But I think it's part of the process. I think it's games. I would say the game is evolving, and so products are evolving too. So we worked on this, and we included some players in the playtest as well. So we still are, I would say, far from the launch. So last year we were quite busy for some players. So, but we had a few that tested. Alexandre Müller tested the racket. Carlos Alcaraz tested the racket in December. So we got some feedback from them, and of course that we're going to plan in the coming month some tests with other pros. We have some windows during the year. So we will plan it, and make sure that it's going to be the next weapon for.
Yeah, for sure. It's continuing. Before we get into some more specifics, let's talk a little bit about the dampening technology. You mentioned it a little bit, and how you guys measure your stiffness, and proposed stiffness rating will be the same as the previous one, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yes, we actually the area and the stiffness, flexibility of the racket is quite complex topic, as we know that in the market we propose mainly one figure, so one value, which is the measurement here on the racket throat. But the way we measure the racket when we work on a new frame, we measure the stiffness at multiple points on the frame. So we have 2 bars, I think, with a distance of 10 centimeters. And so we have a machine that presses the racket, and then we press the racket and check the stiffness in multiple points from this location to this one. So then we have the identity of the frame. So on the throat, on the hoop, on different locations, and we adjust then sometimes the layup to make it more flexible in one location, one part, a little bit stiffer on the other part. And then the sum of all the different measurements are what we call the global stiffness and the targeted stiffness. This is the value we communicate. Something important too, so when we measure the rackets in our laboratory, we put the grip off because there is a kind of, the grip, every grip is pretty soft, so then you could have a difference around 2 or 3 points on the stiffness if you keep the replacement grip. So the way we measure it is without the grip, and then yes, we have a global value, and we propose different evolution of stiffness depending on the model. So we have slightly adjusted the racket, so we've kept the array of the model, but we have between or among the models some difference about the stiffness. Stiffness. So pretty complex topic.
Yeah.
Complex way to measure it as well. So it's not easy, but yes, it's we communicate one value, and which correspond to a global stiffness.
Makes sense. And then this update also has, it's the NF2 technology? Yes, NF squared tech 2.0.
Yeah,
it's a mouthful. And that's we saw this in the Pure Drive 2025. And despite the stiffness number on that being the same as the previous model, our play testers, and I think a lot of players, are feeling a bit of a softer feel, although the RA hasn't changed. So maybe you can talk a little bit, you said a little how you move the flax, talk a little bit of how that works.
Yes, so we had an evolution on the flax fibers technology. So it's natural flax fibers technology, NF2 tech. So we used on these rackets an evolution of the patches. The previous one was not all the fibers were in the same direction. We had some fabrics, woven fabrics, and we found a way to increase the mechanical properties with new patches, having all the fibers on the same directions and strongly, I would say, stuck. And the way to, I would say, the transformation process made the patches more efficient, and especially in the mechanical properties, to have 15% more stiffness. Then we adjusted the location on the racket, so in the racket handle, it's in different area. So we adjusted the location and tested the different samples to make sure that it was really well perceived by the player. We have a different proportion of flag fibers depending on the model.
Okay.
So the 98 has, I would say, lower proportion of fibers, because we still give a certain feel and certain communication in the end for the players, for these players' typology. 300 grams, slightly more flag fibers, and for the lightest version, we have the higher proportion of flag fibers into the frame. So it's an evolution of the technology, new mechanical properties, slightly new sound and feel, but I would say the DNA is still there, and and the Racket was pretty well perceived for during the different test campaigns. So we are pretty happy on this update on this technology. Yeah.
Nice. And we have the 3 rackets. We have the 100, the team, and the 98 on the table. Is there going to be anything else in the family?
Yes, we have the plus version for the 300 grams. So it's still available. And then we have the Pure Aero Light, which is a good transition between junior rackets and adult rackets. And then you have Pure Aero Junior 26, Pure Aero Junior 25. And that's it. I think from some other area, we're going to have a super light, Pure Aero super light, which is at 255 grams, which is, it's very specific. So that we'll have, again, this racket in the lineup. So here it's Pure Aero Team, Pure Aero Light, the Plus version, and of course, Pure Aero 98.
Nice. And let's talk a little bit about some of the pros and the pro endorsements. Who is the face of the Pure Aero right now?
We have a big one.
You have a few, yeah. You have a few
so
good
we have,
ones.
of course, yes, we have a lot of players using the Pure Aero on tour. It's that racket is so successful, so very strong visibility on the pro tour. Of course, Carlos Alcaraz is he won Grand Slams with this racket. So yes, it's Carlos really loves this Pure Aero 98. So we'll have Carlos, we have Arthur Fils, it's a French guy. He just reached the top 20 ATP recently. Félix Auger-Aliassime as well with a Pure Aero 98. Leila Fernandez with a Pure Aero. And then many others. We have Alex Mikkelsen, the US guy that's performed pretty well so, with the Pure Aero. And then, yes, we have Alexandre Müller. We have many others in the team. So it's a strong racket for us. It's a good visibility on tour, and so very, I would say, from top level to amateur level to every level. So it's
good. Something for everyone.
Strong pillar for
Very
us.
strong.
Yeah.
Well, we can't really talk about Pure Aero without bringing up Rafa. So we saw the Origin come into the lineup, which was such a cool opportunity to swing the racket that Rafa's essentially swinging. Those specs are insane, and you just have even more respect for the guy when you try to swing it the way he does. What is going to happen to that line? Is that going to stay part of the Pure Aero legacy? What's going on with that?
So yes, Rafa is for us is such a particular ambassador, very strong link with the brand. So yes, we celebrated Rafa recently in December 24. We celebrated his impressive career. So we closed the chapter, Rafa being on tour. But yes, we will open another one.
Okay.
Rafa we still have a strong relationship. We've been together for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
So, of course, the story will continue. It's a new chapter that we're going to start. And so Rafa will be still there. So as ambassador for us, he has his academies. So, and yes, the objective is he has a strong identity for what we call the heavy spin, which is massive power and massive ball rotations with a specific frame, I would say constriction. And so it's a specific segment, but yeah, we'll see in the future the way we can collaborate to update this racket and
that's good.
To have something, yes.
Good to hear, because it's really nice to hear when these legends retire, they're still such a part of tennis. Like you mentioned, he has his academies and he's still very visible, and I think it will be good.
Yes.
We don't want him to leave.
Yes, yeah, for sure, and for us too, and he will be there. So,
yeah. Okay, great. We get this question a lot, and I know we've discussed it before, but define the pure aero player against a pure drive player. Which one suits what kind of player? Who is the pure aero for? Who is the pure drive for?
So for the pure aero player, the most important is to get the safety or margin, to get the ball rotation, to hit very hard the ball and have the ball diving in the court. So this is a category of players maybe with a more vertical swing. Then we have different typologies. So we have players being very close to the baseline or getting in the court that try to reach angles, play drop shots, or come to the net to finish the point. So it's a category for the Pure Aero 98. Then we have a large group for what we call aggressive baseliner. So Pure Aero, they will get the safety or margin with that racket. It's a way to get the control, to have the rotation of the ball and to hit really hard. For the Pure Drive, for me, this is not really the same swing. So they take more risk. They try to hit winners. They try to really, I would say, dominate the game with strong serve, strong forehand. So it's a different, for me, it's a different state of mind.
Yeah.
It's a different game, but even if it's in a category of aggressive baseliner. And then we could have, for me, and we still have some, for the heavy spin, some players that could play Pure Aero far back and try to push back the opponent with very curved trajectories. So for me, it could be another type of players, and different from the Pure Drive. Pure Drive, you're going to get very good deep balls, and with the Pure Aero, very curved trajectories. So it's slightly different, but for me, this is for each group the difference between Pure Aero player and Pure Drive player.
Yeah. When we're playtesting, I always think of like Pure Drive, like I'm hitting through the court this way. And then like if I'm using a racket like this, I all of a sudden have like the opportunity to hit angles, and like you can do more of this. So I can, as a player that prefers a Pure Drive based on my hitting style, these rackets allow me, the Pure Aero 98 allows me to be more creative, I call it, because I'm not as creative when I'm just hitting straight through the ball. So it's fun. And like I was saying, the angles that you can create with this racket, it was crazy. I hit an inside out forehand angle yesterday into the wall. It was like, I would never think to try that with the Pure Drive. I'd probably just bash it down the line. So it opens up that creativity for sure. And
definitely.
Yeah. Talk to me about the Cosmetic inspiration, because these rackets look really amazing.
Thank you.
They're beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, the inspiration is airflow.
Okay.
Yes, as the racket I would say was crafted by science and shaped by the wind.
I love it.
So airflow is part of the Cosmetic inspiration. So we have here that expression on the Aero logo, and so we have here on the racket head some decals that express this airflow that you have on the racket. And in terms of colors, we decided a gray color with a shade of green matching. So it's quite fresh, modern, and something new, and matching really well with the lime here, the yellow fluo, with the lime of this racket. So it's gray base with a shade of green. So then we have high contrast with the base and between the base and the double line here. And then many details on the racket. So yes, to express this airflow and yeah.
It looks nice. It's nice. I think fresh is a good word because we're so used to seeing black and yellow on these rackets, and this is a nice new vibe, and it's just really cool. I even love the fluorescent call out on the grommet.
Yes, on the grommets. Really nice. Yes.
Very nice. I have to ask, this might be a silly question, but you talked about the testing in the wind tunnel and the airflow. Can you paint a picture of what that looks like? Like, how does that process even exist?
So yes, we started with simulation.
Okay.
So engineers, they worked on simulations to calculate on a very specific moment on the swing where the racket velocity is the highest.
Okay.
So it's just right before the impact.
Okay.
We calculate a specific angle, and then they simulated the best racket, I would say, the best options for the racket throat.
Okay.
To reduce the drag.
Wow.
And then we worked with suppliers on the mold, worked on the racket, physical racket, and then we tested this racket in the wind tunnel to analyze the airflow coming from here, from this way, and then it confirmed what engineers found on the simulation.
Wow.
So we worked on the really. It's slightly more edgy here, but we worked on the way to make these rackets 6% more aerodynamic, and by keeping the same DNA. And what was interesting, it's during the playtests, players could feel it, could feel the maneuverability of the racket, and we didn't change the specs, so it worked. It worked well. It worked well, and then we briefed the design agency, but I would say we gave all the different measurements and the shape of the racket, so they couldn't, I would say, modify that part of the racket that we defined with the R&D.
Yeah.
And so they worked in other parts, but this one was a key one. So. Yes, they worked in some other aspects, but...
That's really good to hear, because so many times people pick up a racket that has maybe a modular shape to the throat and they're like, this is a gimmick. And you literally just proved that it was engineered to be this way, and that's what helps with the 6% faster feel.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, so really crafted by science.
Yes. And also, I always think it's cool to hear about people in tennis that are doing jobs that we don't think of. So even an engineer and coming up with this design, that's so cool.
Yeah. I just texted them this morning.
Yeah?
Yes. I told them, the playtest went super well, and so they are pumped.
That's the other thing too, is I don't think people realize when they get the new racket in their hand how many people were a part of the process. It's February now.
It's February right now, yes. And it's important. I take the opportunity to, I would say, to thank them and congratulate them. It's a big team. So the racket team is, they are doing a daily great job. They are really, really committed. And as we said, for us, the objective is to propose the best product to, I would say, committed players, whatever the level. It's so we put energy, we put efforts on this product. It's a great team, so I'm really proud of them. And yes, it's a lot of people, I would say, work on a daily basis on this racket, and now we are preparing the future.
Yeah, definitely.
So yes, no, it's I'm very proud of them. Yes.
Nice. When are we going to start seeing it in players' hands? Not until it launches, or do you think it will get out
Yes.
there? U.S. Open too soon?
We'll see. So of course we'll take advantage of this year to maximize in some window with players to start, I would say, the endorsement process. Normally the main window is during July, but it's more to get, I would say, additional feedback, etc. On players. The main campaign for endorsement is going to be during the off season, so then it depends, but starting from November to December, and then yes, for some of them, they will have the opportunity to test it before. So the goal is to have that racket visible for the next season, for the start of the next season. So now it's early January, sometimes late December, with the Cosmetic. So yes,
awesome,
early January.
And I always like to remind people what might be the best string setup for each of these rackets. So can you give us ideas on what you would string the standard Pure Aero with, the 98 and the team?
Yes, for the 98, for me, hybrid could be very interesting. Depends on your game, of course, but normally have some polyester on mains and softer string on crosses. Could be the RPM soft, which is a kind of multi-filament made of polyamide, the material of multi-filaments. If you can, with VS Cut, it's just perfect for the tension maintenance. So hybrid with blast and flexible strings. Full blast works, and of course, some players can use RPM rough. This is the case of Felix, for example. RPM rough could be a good option for the 98. Very good option for the 100, of course, with blast. And then for the lightest versions, I would recommend hybrid. Could work well. RPM team, which is a copolyester softer. For the Pure Aero team, it's a good option. And then for the light, it could be hybrid or RPM soft. This is the reason of being of that string. Some people sometimes try to, I want to play with RPM, but sometimes we know that they don't have still the body and to play with such, I would say, with polyester strings. So we created RPM soft for that, for juniors in transition. From the multi-filament to the polyester world, I would say. So that's why RPM soft for the Pure Aero light could be a good option. Or multi-filament, but multi-filament are not very well known for, I would say, to generate.
We want to get more spin.
To generate spin. So RPM soft, yes, is a better option.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. It's so interesting because I was talking to my team and they're like, will this racket help me get more spin? And like, yes. Basically, even if you didn't change your swing based on the update of frame geometry, yes, right? I mean, we always talk about technique and everything else, but it was noticeable even for someone like me who's just like that extra little flick of the wrist, and it's just like it was right there. So there it is.
Yeah. It's perfect. It's perfect, yes.
What else? Do we cover everything? Let's see. Anything else you want to add about the Pure Aeros?
Pretty excited about this racket. So pretty excited about the test yesterday we had together. So yes, from my side, it's great. I'm impatient.
I know. That's what I was going to say. This won't go out for another 11 months. And it's not frustrating, but this is the fun part. But also it's like you just want to be like, wait, this is so exciting. And it's good because based on how well our test went, I know it's going to go well with everyone that you see and work with, players, of all ages, levels. It's exciting to know that, it's not every day that like, you get really excited at this. We've both been in the industry for a minute. It's not every day, every racket launch that really excites you. But like, I think this one, like I said at the beginning, I have goosebumps because it's a nice racket. It looks amazing. It feels amazing. It's a good update.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
What else can we say? It's a good update. So it's going to be really cool to watch the progression, and then watch it launch into the market.
Yeah.
Because people are excited about this racket. I can tell you that right now. I know it. So I'm super excited. Can't wait for people to get a chance to hit it, demo it, play it next to your previous one. That's how we got to experience it. That's probably, I know it's like champagne problems, but like if you're using the Pure Aero right now, get your Pure Aero strung up with this new one side by side, play them side by side to really experience what the new racket can unlock.
Yes. And during the playtest campaign, we had a bunch of Pure Aero players.
We did.
And they were so excited about the new racket.
I bet.
The new update. Yeah. So, yes, a large part of them were ready to switch to the new one. So
they're like, wait, can I have this?
So it's, yes, we are excited. Yes. Really.
I have to also ask, because I'm the bag lady in the building, have you seen bags yet? Have the bags been produced? And do they look as amazing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
we produced the bag. So unfortunately, I couldn't bring the bag.
That's okay.
The bag with me today. But yes, the bag, of course, is great, matching perfectly the rackets.
Awesome.
So it's as we did on the Pure Live. So it's just going to be really, really, I would say, beautiful, great visibility on court, off court.
Yes. Well, and I was going to say, if I know a thing or two, I know there might be a shoe that matches as well, because we have that Pure Drive color right now in line.
Yes.
So awesome. That's exciting too. Good.
Yes.
Well, I think we covered it all. Thanks for coming. We usually get to do these at BMP. It's a little earlier in the process this time, so we got to have the full experience. It was so fun having you here. And it's always a delight for us to be included from all the stages, from very beginning to this final cosmetic, just the reveal even. It's cool when you take it. I saw him a little bit before some of the team yesterday, and it was cool to like watch everyone and like just see, I was telling Sally, just to see the smile like on everyone's face, and like everyone's just excited. So yeah, it's awesome.
And for us, it's the best gift we can get, I think, to have people excited, people happy with the playability, with the product. It's great for us. So thank you for the opportunity. Yes, it's always a pleasure to come here and see you guys.
Anytime. We'll do it again next year. Pure Strike.
Let's do it. Let's plan it now.
Just keep it coming. Keep it going. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And of course, if people have any questions, we're happy to answer them. But happy hitting with the new Pure Aero.
Thank you, Michelle.
Woo.